Hey guys, it's Julia here, and we've got another review video of this beauty back here. But before we start, I want to introduce our new host. Empty chair. No, it's Mark.
Hello.
Everybody say hi to Mark. Mark, tell us 3 things about yourself.
Okay, well, I'll start with my favorite color. My favorite color would be blue.
Great, let's start the review. Good stuff, Mark.
You've probably seen lots of all-in-one liquid coolers before, but have you seen one built into a case? Okay, maybe you have, but this one's different, bear with us, we swear. The GamerStorm division at Deepcool have gone and done just that with the Newark 90 EATX case. Tempered glass? Check. RGB fans? Check. CPU liquid cooling system? Check. Hi, I'm new here, and I'll be doing the investigating for you to see how well this case performs so you don't have to. Alright, so here's what you're getting with the Newark 90 case. A CPU water block for either Intel or AMD, a 280mm radiator, and a reservoir built into the front of the case. You get 4 140mm fans pre-installed, and yes, they're all RGB. The water block and PSU shroud have RGB lighting as well as accent lighting on the front and top of the case. Under the glass and plastic front panel, you can fit up to 3 120mm fans if you remove the hard drive cages at the bottom. The reservoir for the cooling loop has an RGB lighting strip behind it, which should make for a cool little lighting effect through the water. They've also included a dust filter at the bottom of the case. On top, you'll get 2 USB 3.0 ports, a headphone and microphone jack, power button, LED activity light, and RGB lighting control buttons. But not gonna lie, it took me way too long to find these Deepcool. We're gonna need bigger labels for those. You can also fit 3 more 120mm fans in the roof of the case, but there are only a few cutouts for air intakes along the top and front, which makes us a little concerned for case airflow, but it's nice to have the option. As with the glass and RGB trends these days, the case does come with support for a vertically mounted GPU. However, the case does not provide you with a PCIe riser cable, and mine was too short in this case. You'll want to find yourself a cable with screw mounting holes about 5 inches apart to fit here. There's also another removable dust filter at the bottom of the case. The thumb screws for the glass side panel are pretty short on this case, so be careful when you're taking this panel off. Once inside, you'll see the power supply shroud and the removable hard drive cage that can house 3 3.5-inch drives. You'll need to remove both the front and side panels though to gain access to these drive cages. And no, that's not the world's smallest motherboard in the case. It's actually just a plate to secure the CPU water block during transport. There's also a 4th RGB 140mm fan in the back of the case. There are plenty of rubber grommets around the motherboard to help make cable management super simple. The cutout for the 8-pin power cable to your motherboard is also very spacious, and you'll get 25mm of clearance from the back panel of the case to make room for cables and airflow. You get 2 2.5-inch SSD cages behind the motherboard and 1 for display on top of the PSU shroud in front. When installing the heatsink, you will have to do some handiwork with the CPU water block. With the tubes connecting to the radiator being very stiff and a fixed length, you're going to have to finesse them around the RAM, or if your CPU is in a weird location, it's going to make times a little bit tough for you. To install a GPU normally into the motherboard, you're going to have to remove the vertical mounting brackets. However, unfortunately, in our case, we were not able to reinstall these brackets once our GPU was installed. Our GPU is just too thick. So basically, we have an open rectangle in the back of the case for airflow, I guess. For our test build, we'll be going with an Intel Core i7 8700K, a GB Z370 Aorus Gaming 7 motherboard, 32 GB of Corsair Vengeance RGB DDR4 memory, a Corsair RM750X PSU, a EVGA GTX 1080 for the win video card, and an ADATA SX8000 M.2 SSD for storage. To stress test the limits of the built-in cooler, we're going to use Intel Burn Test for 10 runs. Next, we're going to benchmark the system using 3D Mark tests Firestrike and TimeSpy. We'll also monitor temps during Prime 95 for 10 minutes. During our testing, we had an ambient temperature of 23 degrees Celsius and the 8700K was idling at about 27 degrees. The Intel burn test took 345 seconds and saw an average and a max of 59 and 63 degrees Celsius. Firestrike and Firestrike Extreme pushed our CPU to 53 and 55 degrees Celsius. TimeSpy from 3D Mark maxed out the i7 8700K at 56 Celsius, and the extreme version pushed our CPU to 60 degrees Celsius during the tests. The i7 did stay cool between 30 and 40 degrees Celsius though during the graphics portion of both tests. Finally, we fired up Prime 95 and ran small FFT tests to really see how far we could push the i7 8700K and the Newark 90 CPU cooler. Before the torture test, the i7 was idling at about 28 degrees Celsius and quickly ramped up to the high 60s when the test started. The CPU did hit a max of 73 degrees Celsius with all of the cores pinned at 100%, but returned quickly to 28 degrees Celsius right after the tests were done. In conclusion, we're pretty happy with how well the built-in cooler stood up to the tests that we threw at it today. Temperatures never really went over 70 degrees Celsius under the most rigorous of tests that we had, and in scenarios you'll never likely see, unless you benchmark a lot. The aesthetic of the RGB fans and the external radiator definitely take a lot of the guesswork out of building a good-looking machine when deciding which cooling components to get and where they'll fit in your build. This case can definitely become a showpiece for your rig with all the best parts of your build shining through the side panel of the case. We also liked how many fans that Deepcool decided to include with the case. They're all RGB, and they even included one below the 280mm radiator to complete the side-facing look. We also appreciated the large PSU shroud that is included here to make cable management super easy, and for you lazy people, a place to just store cables and no one will really know the difference. It looks like the Newark 90 Deepcool case delivers the goods and brings form and function together with good cooling performance from an out-of-box experience. There's no need to find places to mount reservoirs, pumps, or refill the system the way that it's designed. You pretty much just drop in your motherboard, CPU, and RAM, and then attach the heatsink. The case is priced at a premium though at $299 US or $375 Canadian, but you do get 4 140mm RGB fans, a fan controller, 2 80mm radiator, as well as the all-in-one cooler with a front-mounted reservoir, all wrapped up in tempered glass. No case is perfect, however, and there's a few improvements we'd like to see here just to make this case that much better. The first of which, we'd like to see longer or more flexible tubes in the build, or have 90-degree fittings on the water block just to accommodate different types of builds you might decide to put inside the case. The second thing we'd like to see would be magnetic dust filters on the front and the top of the case. That's where a lot of the air is coming in, and we'd like to see that filtered. So, what do you think about this case? Do you think it's worth the money, and do you think it performs just as well as some of the other all-in-one coolers out there? Let us know in the comments below. I've been your host, Mark. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe here for more videos. Click on our last video right here. You can follow us on social media over here, and shop Mike's Computer Shop right over there.
Yay, Mark!